Welcome to darkloopsproductions, Dragons in the House, a podcast for discussing HBO's new series, House of the Dragon. I'm Dr. Scott Jordan, aka Zombie Scotty, cognitive psychologist, philosopher at Illinois State University. And tonight we discuss episode 3, Second of His Name. Colleagues, please introduce yourselves and tell the audience a little something about who you are, and we will start with Stanford.
Hello, I'm Dr. Stanford Carpenter. I am a cultural anthropologist. I am chair of the Black and Brown Comic Arts Festival and manager of community engagement at the University of Chicago Oriental Institute.
Fantastic. How about you, Cianna?
Hi, I'm Cianna Greaves. I am a podcast producer and public radio producer out of Chicago, Illinois.
Fantastic. So I guess let's just first start. Thumbs up, thumbs down on the episode on the count of 3. 1, 2. Okay, fantastic. So let's just go ahead and jump into a favorite line, favorite scene, or favorite writing tactic, whatever just comes to mind.
I guess I'll start. My favorite scene, and this is also my favorite as a scene here from last week's episode, was Allison and Viserys walking in front of that massive bonfire. I don't know if it's a Targaryen thing, but fire seems to be a bit of a truth serum for them, right?
Right.
You had Renera and these really deep feelings with Allison.
Yes.
At the set in front of that beautiful altar with all those candles, and those flames just added such emotional depth to that scene. And again, we had Viserys and Allison just having this, I guess the conversation in front of the bonfire. And hats off to Paddy Considine. He was everything that I wanted Viserys to be.
Right. He was. So
he was amazing.
What exactly we know what they were talking about, but I don't exactly remember what it was he said, because he had a few scenes where he sort of dropped how he felt about, Rainier's being the heir, and how he doubted things. So what exactly did those two talk about there? Do you remember?
In that scene, that it was along the same lines. He was just really talking about, the pressures that he was facing, and this difficult choice. And this, I guess he was very frustrated because whatever doubts people have about his leadership as king, a lot of that came to the fore. Aegon's going to be king, right? And he was very explicit. I don't think it was in that scene when he said, I didn't pick Rainier to be, Lord of the it didn't happen on a whim.
Yeah, and
it's a very calculated,
right?
Like, this is my choice.
And that's the scene where he's telling her, what he was going through in terms of spiting Daemon, but then also protecting the realm, protecting the family. And as he did that across more and more scenes, well, first of all, aren't Targaryens kind of like immune to fire? Or are they are immune to dragon fire? Mm-hmm. To what?
Yeah, they are. I would say yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they could sit there, but her, she's not. He's got her so close to all this stuff. I thought, wow.
And he also talks about his dragon dreams, right? And he talks about
the
prophecy.
dreamer.
That was the really, really interesting thing about that scene. That's all coming back to me. He talks about this prophetic dream, or maybe not prophetic dream, of this vision of seeing Aegon with the crown on his head, and just second guessing and the mistakes he made with Emma, and now he's second guessing himself, but he's still very steadfast and sure. I don't know. He's very steadfast in his decision, and it was just a lot.
I'm glad you remembered that, because the focus on his dream as prophecy is something. If we're going to talk about that time, they really believe that.
Dany had dragon dreams too. Remember, exactly. Dany saw a lot of things in her dreams. So I like the way he spelled out where his doubt came from in that moment, right? Because he said, I had this dream that there was going to be a boy king. That didn't happen. I killed your mother trying to make it happen. And then suddenly I never planned to remarry. Now I have a son. Crap.
I'm stuck because I'm a dreamer and it says I'm supposed to have a male heir, but I chose. So he really is revealing his conflict. I bet you.
And I'm hammered. I'm wasted.
Right.
Maybe it wasn't the fire. Maybe it actually was just
Totally out my mind here.
All I know is
truth. Yeah.
I don't know if it was just the alcohol or what, but my man grew a spine.
Oh, he was like Christ on a cross. I get it.
Yeah, I mean, he was.
Yeah.
I mean, no, I mean, I actually thought that what was interesting, we actually saw him be assertive.
Mhm.
You know, I feel like up until now, he's been very much reactive. You know, I'm still, you know, he's still not my choice for a king, but you know.
So I think this, you know, we've been talking about him not being able to make a choice, and they're really leaning into that with the writing. I mean, you're right. He comes out in front of Renera and says, "There's no way, child, that I'm going to use, you know, I'm gonna, you're my heir." Yet he doesn't say that to the court. He doesn't say that in public. He lets himself hedge his bets in public. And I love the scene, again, with his wife, where he's pissing and moaning again. That I think it's that same night. He's still drunk, and they're sitting inside in front of the fireplace. And she says, "You know, what do you believe, Viserys?" And he says, "I'm forever doomed to anger one person in the pleasing of another." It's like, damn, dude, you're the boss. Of course, that's the gig, right? And then she says, very matter-of-factly, then I pose a simpler question. Is it better for the realm if the crab feeder thrives or is vanquished? And then he makes his mind and he writes that letter and he sends it off. I mean, he's always analyzing the problem so personally and just getting stuck in his little world. And, you know, while he's sitting there more than willing to yell at Rihanna for her unwillingness to do her duty, he's sitting there acting like the problem is his and making these Libra kind of choices when, you know, he's got a duty. So I thought they really spent a lot of time leaning into his, you know, oscillations and right.
Yeah. I'm fascinated by him, and you know, the Game of Thrones universe, there really are you do have to pay attention, you do have to listen carefully. There isn't a lot of fat to trim, like, you know what I mean? There really aren't that many superfluous lines, and it made me think back to when Rainier was speaking to Renera in the last episode, and she said, "Your father is no fool."
Yeah.
And maybe he plays the fool, but I mean, maybe that's part of his strategy, but she was very, you know, she was like, your dad's not an idiot.
Yeah. I think they've done a good job of showing that he genuinely loves his daughter and genuinely believes in her ability to be a good queen, and then lets that be destabilized by listening to everyone else in the court and his own arguments about duty. And so I think what I like about, it's not that I like it about his character, but what I like about the writing is they showed that this is just who he is. You know, it's we can call it weak. At the same time, he's just maybe not the kind of person that should have the final word, right?
It's also just very human, right?
Yeah, exactly. No, he's honest, and you know, sometimes the people that are good at that final word are the dangerous ones. So right.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. In all the vacillating, what he really does is he forces other people to make decisions for him. And that, I think that's one of the things that's really interesting. So he really didn't deal with Daemon or with Corlys, and they went off and started a war. Yep. Right, like he could have put his foot down and he could have decided to lead, follow, or lead or follow on that, right? And he chose not to. You know, I also love that it created this situation where like, even when he did offer to help, you know, all it did was just spur Daemon to be more reckless because he didn't want to win with his brother's help.
Exactly.
Right? So yeah, I mean, I thought that was, to me, that, you know, on one hand, you know, Daemon's not talking much. He has like almost no words in the script, Yet what I think is interesting is through his actions, we are seeing his character in a way that's much more interesting than if he was speaking.
Yeah, going back to what you just said, Scott, that actually makes me think, right? Like, is defeating the Crab Prince, is it beneficial to the realm? Well, maybe Viserys should have, stuck to his guns, because what you've done now is reinvigorated Daemon.
Oh,
and now you've raised him to this mythical, heroic figure who ran through a hail of arrows and single-handedly defeated the bloody Crab Prince and his army.
And that final image of him, blood-soaked, that was stunning. I got to say, I enjoyed the last 10 minutes, and I watched it the second time, and I thought this is better than I experienced it the first time. Because for me, this is where the series started to take on those Shakespearean elements where, Viserys is doing it. He's being himself. And that's what Shakespeare was always able to capture. Just what are you and how do those dynamics play out? And what are the unintended consequences that come out of being who you are? Well, you just turned Daemon into a hero. Yeah. Right. And Daemon and the Sea Snake are tight now, right? Yeah. I mean, they were having that whole argument about who you're going to find crazy enough to do this. Daemon didn't even know they were having that argument. He just showed up, got that letter, and said, "The hell with this. The only way for me to get out of this is to kill the Crab King myself." And of course, he would have died if he hadn't had the help he got. But that's I would argue that's who he was. And I just love how, so in this, I think the writing was good. And I think it's not that you are who you are, it's who you are in relation to everybody else, and all those dynamics play out, and you get the glorious mess we got the first 5 seasons of Game of Thrones, right? Everybody was living in a world of unintended consequences created by themselves. Right. Yeah, exactly. How about you? Go, Stanford, your favorite scene? Or
I had a couple. I feel like I had a couple favorite scenes.
Yeah.
I mean, the 2 scenes that stick out the most to me are Lionel Strong when he goes up to the king, and the king will say, "Oh, so you want me to marry my daughter off to your son?" And he's like, "Nope."
Yeah.
You need to be thinking about Lenore. Why? For the same reason I told you to marry Lenore's sister, which is you need to make it right with Corlys. Like I love that scene.
Yes.
I love the way they had him just kind of like not even think about his own ambition. And it was like that one rare moment where you had someone who was actually really thinking outside of themselves and their own ambition.
Right.
Throughout the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the only other character that came close was Sir Criston, right?
Right.
But I mean, his circumstances wasn't one where he was making a decision for the crown, right? Or making a statement where he's like backing the crown. He was doing it. He was actually just doing his duty. And let me ask you to forget that I said just. He was doing his duty. And I think I thought that was really interesting. And that's my other favorite scene was when was him and Renera coming in with the boar. Just like she literally came back. She's like, "I am the only one here who killed something myself."
Yeah, I love your comments about Strong, right? And this is the second time that he's given sage advice, right? And looks to be pretty politically neutral in the sense that it looks like he's got nothing to gain. So 2 things on it. One, for me, it feels like the writers are putting this voice of reason in a character to show us just how much Viserys is oscillating. I mean, when he says that, "Oh, you're going to come to me and you're going to try to, get my daughter to marry you," that is just so small, right? That is just so small. It almost reveals more the depths that he's gone to, than it reveals a whole lot about Strong. And I'd love to see Strong. I'd love us to learn more about him, right? Always playing the high road for now, right? And he's got something later in store for us. Yeah.
But I think I actually find those characters to be really interesting. The characters who actually understand the assignment.
Like Varys.
Yeah. I feel and that's the thing I find really interesting is that like King doesn't understand the assignment. Then he has the nerve to complain that his daughter doesn't understand the assignment, right?
Yeah, no. He'd actually probably make a better advisor than a king simply because he vacillates so much. And to be honest, you want an advisor who can see all the angles and can go back and forth. And Viserys would be an amazing advisor. It's just as a king, he finds it hard to find the sweet spot, that decision making. I got a question for you guys about the final scene when Corlys's son comes flying on the dragon, right? And he's a dragon rider. Rhaenyra is a dragon rider.
It's a good match.
I'm telling you,
it's such a good match.
I just little surprised. Maybe they're slow rolling that. I'm not sure. But somewhere we got to get to the fall of House Targaryen, right? Because it's House Lannister that runs the realm at the beginning of Game of Thrones. So the whole thing with the white stag and all of that. And then what's his name? Oh, the Lannister brother. Jason Lannister?
Yes, Jason.
Playing all slick and smooth.
I like the comment. His pride has pride.
His pride has pride. I laughed at that twice. I absolutely laughed at that twice. What other scenes stuck out to you guys in this episode?
I love Miss Emily Carey as Allison's Hightower Targaryen. Is she now?
I don't know how they do that. Yeah,
an amazing actress. There's a lot of subtlety. She communicates so much with a glance and a look. Again, going back to, episode 2, when was it episode 2? Yeah, episode 2, when Viserys announced that he would be marrying Allison. The look that she gives Renera, I mean.
Oh yeah.
And you also see Otto Hightower losing a lot of his influence in this episode.
Oh my gosh.
Pretty much Viserys was like, I got it. Thank you.
Yeah, but like that kid's 2 years old.
And even Allison was like, I hear you. Thank you so much.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
You're noted. But rather than doing his bidding, like we saw in the first 2 episodes, she's working really, really hard to find a solution that appeases everyone, including Rainier.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good point. She actually sees through her father's plots.
Yeah. She's just kind of like, are you done? He was shut down twice on Sunday, quite hard.
And she's starting to understand power too, right? Because she knows that in that second episode, what she said mattered. And so, okay, this matters. And absolutely.
Right now, she's probably my favorite character because she's such a dark horse. She's very fascinating.
Compare, contrast her to Marjorie from the first series.
Oh, there is no comparison.
There's no comparison. How's there no comparison?
Marjorie Tyrell was a queen.
Fair enough. So this could this be a younger version of her, Marjorie, right? I mean, Marjorie.
Nah.
You don't think so?
Nah.
No, Marjorie was a badass. She was her mother.
Was a badass.
And Lady Olenna, oh my God, that whole Tyrell crew was just the best.
She was just a few minutes too late.
Yeah.
Marjorie, she was hip to that game immediately. Like she was so close.
She and Lady Olenna were the characters I mourned the most when they were no longer in the series.
She outsmarted Cersei.
Yes.
Every step of the way.
Every step of the way.
So, no, there is no comparison.
Exactly. So any other things that you guys want to talk about this show that we haven't talked about yet?
I'm torn because like I said, my two of my favorite scenes were very different parts of the show.
Yeah.
I'm really interested to see what happens as far as Renera and Lenore, because I did not realize until this episode that he was also a dragon rider. I'm also really intrigued by the crab feeder. Part of me was disappointed when Damon came out, and there's something that was like worse for him having hacked him in half as opposed to having just cut off his head. I was it just spoke to a level of brutality.
Yeah,
but I'm wondering if the guy who he dragged out was really the crab feeder. I don't think we've heard the last of the crab feeder.
So I hope not. I mean, he's the closest to, kind of a big baddie we have right now. And he was covered with grayscale, right? So
Yeah.
So there's a little more mythology, a little bit more lore coming into his character that we kind of missed.
So I'm wondering if being the crab feeder is a title as opposed to being an individual.
Of course, yeah.
Well, they did call him by his title, right? His name is Lord Drahar. And I read, I did the Google machine. He's a prince from Mir. And and that's all we know about him at this point. We don't, and maybe there's backstory.
Well, here's the thing. Once I saw that he had grayscale, I'm thinking to myself, well, he's not long for this world anyway.
Right.
And I know that they're doing time jumps. So if they're going to jump ahead a year, 2 years, 3 years, the grayscale will, the grayscale will have overcome him by then. So So that's what led me to believe. I'm like, I think that this character is. I think either being the crab feeder might turn out to be more of a title than an individual. I think it might, I don't think that we have seen the last of this group of people, and I just can't envision them having gone into so much effort around like the world building of a character, to just be like, oh, we're going to get rid of them in 3 episodes. I also think that what's going to happen is this whole issue of keeping the sea lanes open. I think it's going to. I think it's going to be a steady drumbeat throughout. Because the more they have trouble with the sea lanes, the more they need Corliss.
Yep. I mean, for me, the Crab King character this episode was more about revealing something about Damon, right?
Right.
In other words, he's that crazy, and he is that obsessed with his brother, right? And so maybe you're right in the sense that we'll think it's kind of gone, and then it'll come back 3 episodes from now and be a big deal we didn't think of.
Or what happens when we meet the crab feeder's older brother and he's pissed.
Well, or the free cities find a new guy to to put in charge. And what's the politics that we're, because you're right, all we're seeing is the crab feeder. We know now they did say Corliss did say in the first episode that he was being funded by families in the free cities, if I remember. So there is a bit of politicking going on that they're slow playing.
And they're also, and he's also a pirate, right? And amongst pirates, a lot of times some of these names float around like titles.
Yep. By the way, have you guys seen Our Flag Means Death?
Yes.
Oh
I saw first 2 episodes. Very good.
It's brilliant. Very, very the idea of Blackbeard changing hands in the whole world. Oh, it's just anyway, non sequitur. I apologize, but when you mentioned that names pass on, I couldn't help but think of Our Flag Means Death. No, I'm interested to see, because Corliss, I mean, Corlys and Daemon are heroes now. And they can walk into King's Landing and do things, say things. And
Corlys has a brother.
yes.
You met Unc.
He does have a brother.
Yeah.
And I love meeting his son. His son's a badass. His son actually likes Daemon too, because his son said to his uncle, well, what are you doing to fight this war? Daemon's the only one doing the work. So what I love about that is that young man only knows Daemon in the context of the war they're trying to fight in the steppes. And he doesn't know Daemon in the context of King's Landing and all the politicking. So I love how there's all those little Venn diagrams of who you are, and people take what they know of you from that context and they apply it to others. And yeah, hopefully we'll see some more of that.
And again, like you said, his admiration for Daemon. Is it too late for a match to be made between Corlys' son and Renera? Because his loyalties lie with his commander.
Yeah.
Whom he admires very much.
And here's the thing: if Lenore is wed to Rhaenyra, I mean, even if he thinks Daemon should be king, he immediately becomes in opposition, right? Like that's just one of those things where when you that marriage is one of those things where you got to go down with that ship.
That's one of the things they could be doing multi-generationally, right? Is pitting Rhaenyra and Lenore against Viserys and his wife. I'm just saying, because I think Viserys is actually going to lie to her, and I think he's actually going to name Aegon the heir. Yeah, and when he does that, she's out. That's it. He just swore to her, on her mother's grave, that she was the heir. And I think we've just seen him oscillate, and something's going to happen. And
she will kill that child.
Well,
I don't think Aegon is long for this world.
Yeah, the interesting thing is who's going to get him, right?
Yeah, I
love it.
She might, but Allison may give, she may have another boy, which would knock Rainier further down the line of succession.
Yeah. And then again, there's all kinds of, look, as you mentioned, the king was drunk. He was in his element next to a huge bonfire, so he's spitting his truth. But in the light of day at the small council, he doesn't say those things.
No.
I'm
sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
He was hammered. Patty Considine was the best drunk. I had a headache.
No,
when he was staggering towards that stag, I missed all the symbolism of that stag. I was just like, he's so hungover.
Yeah.
He's going to throw up. He looks so miserable now. Been there, buddy. Hang in there.
Exactly. True aim.
He was
Absolutely.
just like, oh my God, when is this going to be over?
It's so embarrassing too. And the dude comes up, my lord, a little bit to the left.
Like he literally caught it for you. You just have to.
How embarrassing, man. At that point in your leadership career, what you got to do is turn a weakness into a strength. You got to have a tournament. So you just say, whenever we capture this thing, whoever wins this tournament gets to kill this thing on behalf of the king. And you celebrate that person, and you look magnanimous instead of sitting there getting on your horse with stair steps and getting on. That's and someone carrying it for you, man. That does not imbue anybody. And I'm not going to say if you're a good leader.
She also chided Robert for the same thing.
Yeah.
She definitely made fun of his hunt.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, the thing I was wondering is, what if Renara had killed the white stag? And imagine if she had come rolling back into the camp with the white stag and the boar.
That's what I would have done. That would have been the boss move.
Yeah, I was saying I'm queen, excuse me. Guys, I think she's gonna marry Jason Lannister. I think that's what the stag was about.
No, I think she's I think she's gonna marry
Jason Lannister.
I'm just saying, I think it's gonna happen, but we'll see.
I think her true love is gonna be Sir Criston Cole. And I think that she's gonna find herself in a marriage with Lenore.
I loved her conversation with Criston Cole. I love their scenes together.
Yeah.
He's
interestingly enough, because what I like about him, and that was contrasted to Jason, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because no one ever knows if he's making moves on her, because all of the words he uses are within the parlance of his role and her role. So she says, what can I do? There's nothing I can do. And he says, yeah, I've got no bite. And he says, when you chose me, you put my name in the white book. It's more than my family's ever done. I call that having teeth or whatever. So he's being very kind to her. And we have no idea if, where it goes, but it's such a different tact than Jason, Lannister, who just says, hey, baby, have some wine. Let's get married.
Yeah. Sir Criston Cole is like, hey, like, you have power here.
Yes,
like
exactly.
And Jason Lannister is like, it's never going to happen for you, but at least you'll have a really nice house.
Yeah, he kind of blew it in front of the king, didn't he?
Right. Like, okay, that's not.
No. Well, I think she is going to have that. I think she's going to fall in love with him, as you said, Criston Cole. And I think she's going to be caught up in the same duty, love, tension that her dad is, and had a little play out with her as well. They haven't shown any previews with anyone I can see as a husband. I've seen pictures of her as older, but I haven't seen pictures of her with someone that looks like they would be her husband.
I'm interested in what Otto Hightower's next move is going to be. His desire for power, and I think
that's a great question.
He's in a situation right now where he's got to do something drastic.
Yes,
to bring his daughter, to bring Viserys back to him.
So let me
right now, Lionel Strong is fulfilling the role of a hand.
Yes, exactly. He absolutely is. What's the difference if for Hightower? It's important to him that his grandson be named heir. That's what he's after. He wants his grandson to be named heir. So he doesn't seem to really care about what it'll do to his daughter or Rhaenyra or the realm. I mean, that's what we're going to, I think, see is that whole thing's going to fall apart. Because I do think Viserys is going to change his mind and name Aegon.
I wonder if he's not going to change his mind. I think he's going to be, I think at some point in time, what's going to happen is he's going to make promises in both directions behind the scene, but not publicly. He's going to die. And then everyone's going to fight over what they thought his intent was.
Now, that would be more in keeping with his character. So they're going to start fighting for some reason. Either because he said, like you said, makes promises behind the scene, and therefore everybody's fighting, or he says something publicly, and then that causes everybody to start fighting. But I don't think he's going to handle it. I think he's going to change his... Well, but if he makes promises to someone else, he is changing his mind, at least with them, right?
I think in Game of Thrones fashion, he will be murdered. And Otto or Allison will say, well, he actually wanted Aegon to be hanged.
So
it is the final wish of the... I don't think he's going to change his mind. I think somebody will kill him and falsely...
That's another completely... That's a completely viable alternative.
It's a total Baelish move, and I think I don't think Otto Hightower is above it.
someone murders him, and then they have a war because some believe that Aegon is supposed to be the heir. That's just as, that's a very viable third option. Absolutely. Well, I think we got the options covered here, man. So, Team House and the Dragon wins. We'll figure it out internally. Anything else you guys want to talk about with this episode?
No, I think we covered most of it. I'm excited to see what next Sunday brings. I'm still enjoying the show. Yeah. And I think we're at the point where we're going to really get into some of the politics and, we've kind of been setting up the tension, setting it up. It's been a little repetitive. I think up to this point, I think now we're going to. I
cannot wait to see what Damon and Corliss do, right? So I have to admit, they set it up well, like you said.
I hope next week is a very Damon heavy episode. Did he have a single line? Did he say anything? I don't think he did.
But the thing is,
beat the shit out of the messenger and then just went straight like Targaryen on everyone.
But I think that's what was really great about the way they wrote the show. I mean, I felt like we learned more about him through his actions than we could have through anything he said. And I don't think he could have said anything that would have that would have been eloquent enough to match up to what we saw. Right? Like if he had spoken, I think that it would have taken away from him. I mean, running through that hail of arrows and hacking the crab feeder in half and then dragging out half his body. I mean, that is the heroic stuff of legend. And I think if he had spoken, I don't think anything he could have said would equate to the legendary image that we saw of him. And from that perspective, I thought that was really good. That was really good writing to not give him words.
Yeah, I think it was very clever. The whole theme of the hunt, and we saw that, Damon brutally, but also heroically, bagged a crab prince. Viserys timidly bagged the stag, and
I gotta say that final 10 minutes, I found myself surprised more than once. Oh, damn. And I watched it the second time. It's like, oh. Now here's one thing where I kind of went, Battle of the Bastards is one of my favorite things ever put on film, right? It's a pretty good depiction of what's called the Battle of Agincourt, people suffocating because there's too many, right? So the last minute arrival of the Vale didn't bother me too much because they really wanted to show us that. In this one, though, the kind of last minute, I guess when I watched it the second time, the Crab Kings guys did have Daemon circled, and then, Corliss's guys came in. So maybe it wasn't as performy as I felt it the first time. But it really felt.
But they said that was the plan, right? You needed somebody to draw them out of the caves.
Well, Daemon didn't know the plan, though. Daemon never talked about that plan with them. He just got back, saw that letter from his brother, beat that guy up, and ran off. I mean, so they said, "Damn, crazy guy, follow him and get it done." No, you're right. I just,
that he didn't beat him. That was a good old fashioned ass whooping. That was
he whooped his ass, absolutely. And I gotta admit that surprised me. And good for them. I didn't see him having that reaction. And then, okay, that means I'm learning things about him and stuff maybe I should have known, given we know. And I'll just say this and shut up about Daemon too. The same actions that get him to give that guy an ass whooping and then get in a boat and then run over the island, those are the same impulsive behaviors that got him to just steal the dragon egg.
Right.
It's just this impulsive dude that decides to act and acts. And sometimes he steals a dragon egg and screws up. Sometimes he saves the day. And I like that kind of chaotic. There's a dude there, there's something there that'll help in the situation. It's just, you never know when it's going to go off.
I'm excited to see who Renera will be next week, because remember on the way to the hunt, she's didn't want to be there. She said the sound of a boar reminds her of a child screaming. She found it very unsettling, but man, she murked that boar. Screaming and all, blood splatter. Like, I think this is gonna be, this is a new Rainier. Like, she just, she's gonna stand up for herself and stake her claim and what's hers. And I think she's also, very concerned about her father.
I think you're totally on target. I mean, she was the second blood-soaked character we saw. The first was Damon and and I thought the shot of her looking out over on the top of the hill with the blood still in her hair, I thought that was just a stunning image. She didn't bother to go to a creek and wash that mess out. She was going back home to tell everybody where she'd been. I loved it. Yeah. She's gonna try and protect her father as best she can. And that would be satisfying, because that would put her in a nasty, conflicted spot. Right? Because he's gonna, all the things we talked about, the three options, all that's going to be going on at the same time. She's going to try to protect him. Yep. Anything else you guys? What's it? Screw it. Yeah, he can't help himself. He just can't. That's who he is, and that's what Damon told him about himself in the very first episode. And that's what his brother told. That's what his brother told him. Dude, you didn't say you're impulsive. Maybe even said he was impulsive, but they both know each other pretty well, and maybe that's one other thing I thought about was, just stuff that came to mind. The dragon riding Targaryens, right? So we've seen, I'm going to call them Lenore. We've seen Dany when she was a dragon rider. We've seen Rihanna. I'm wondering if somehow, and this is just babble, being a Targaryen dragon rider actually provides a sort of psychological wholeness that keeps you from going crazy Targaryen, right? I mean, I don't know if the Mad King was a dragon rider or not, but it seems, I guess Damon's whole. He's just impulsive, But
then that goes back to Dany, right? And this debate, like, did she go crazy? Was she, did she go mad, or was she just really angry?
Right.
Did she go Mad King Aerys, or did she just go Daemon Targaryen?
I tell you what, I love that question. No, seriously, because the thing is, I don't know if Martin told D&D that scene happens that way in the book when he's done writing it.
Right.
So they made a choice to make her hysterical, right? They made a choice to make her mad, angry, something along those lines. I'm not sure that's how it's going to play out, in the final. In the final thing, but just psychobabble on my part, but thought I'd throw it out there.
Yeah.
Anything else, you guys? All right, then. Well, that seems to wrap it up for this episode. What'd you say, Stanford?
I said not that I could think of.
No, I got to say, I'm starting to enjoy this the way I enjoyed the first one. I'm not going to say better or worse. It's just getting into the characters and the politics, and as you said, the first time, Stanford, the Shakespeare of it all. Right. I want to be surprised by characters. And I want it to be high amplitude when I'm surprised. So, all right, then. And so let's go ahead and tell everyone where they can find us on social media. And we will start with Cianna.
You can find me on Twitter at CC Greaves. That's CICIGREA, V as in Victor, E as in Sam.
Fantastic. How about you, Stanford?
You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. Well, pretty much everywhere as at SW Carpenter.
Very, very cool. You can find all episodes of Dragons in the House at Dark Loops Productions on YouTube. If you want to write in, tell us we got it right, tell us we got it wrong, give us a fourth scenario on how the realm is going to fall apart, please write into darkloopsproductions@gmail.com. We'll be sure to read it and riff on it at the end of our next episode. So there it is, from all of us to all of you. Big hugs, and remember, all men must die. Bye-bye.